So currently, I'm almost done with one of the two books I was writing, the non-Halloween one. And I did a video some months back about my own version of Spider-Man 4. I'm just posing the question, would anyone want to see that as a novel, like as an audiobook? And just to clarify, the way that this would be done is that there would be visuals to go along with my narration. So it's not like you're just seeing a picture on screen for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. A lot of my impetus for wanting to possibly, make a sequel to Spider-Man 3 is that I think, and I've always felt that there was a good story lost when that movie got canceled. Because Raimi really wanted it to make up for what he felt were 3's shortcomings. And I think it's entirely possible for that to have been the case. Whenever I know something about a movie, while still not knowing the entirety of what it was, I try to kind of base my outline off of what the person left behind, right? So like we know Vulture was going to be the main villain. And I think you could tell an interesting tale of mortality, right? Of like aging, of getting older. A lot of people kind of write off Vulture. They say he's a lame villain. And I think any adaptation always has the opportunity to make the source material better in ways that, might not have been foreseeable for people who just knew the comic character. Like, I really like the Michael Keaton Vulture from Homecoming, even if I'm not the biggest MCU Spider-Man fan. And what I would try to do with a supposed, Raimi Vulture is have it be this man in a mask, or maybe even, someone who kind of like around 50s, 60s, whatever, that is just this extremely violent. It's almost like getting hit by a nuke every time he just saps down to attack somebody or to fight, Spider-Man or whatever. But when you get the scenes of him with his daughter, you learn that he's someone who is very much afraid that he's running out of time, that he's, got some incurable disease, or he's really like dead set on trying to get back what is one of the few things people can never retrieve after they've lost it, which is time. And to kind of add to the horror element, I would have him kidnapping people and doing experiments, see if he can suck the youth out of them. Now I know there was a version of Spider-Man 4 that what's Nostalgia Critics? I'm forgetting the name of the channel, but they had this version of Vulture that was able to get people's youth. I think a more interesting horror-related version of that would be where he tries to, but it doesn't work, and then you just have all these corpses laying around, because it just further shows how worthless and pointless it is to, to even be doing this, and also to show how meaningless their lives are to him. Oh, some people got killed for a thing that didn't work for me. Well, okay, I'll just get some more and try another experiment. And I would really want to contrast him with Aunt May, who, as I've said before, her very small role in Spider-Man 3 has always frustrated me because she was such a big part of the second film. But you would have her as someone who's getting older as well. But she's taken it in stride, right? Oh, I can't walk as fast as I used to, just different comments like that. And, she's at peace with the fact that she is slowing down, that these might be her final years. And I really think those two together could be a nice contrast of how we age gracefully, and also how we can be bitter about, the time that has passed us by. But, with Spider-Man, I would have, or I guess Peter, his arc would be, getting over Harry's death, attempting to get over it anyway, being haunted by him. I'm not going to do something like with, George Stacy, where they have him in TASM 2, Peter seeing his visions of him. I'm not doing that. You could just have Harry get mentioned a lot, or just kind of have him staring off to himself. Because we know for a fact that James Franco was not going to be in Spider-Man 4. But you would really give him this kind of, not necessarily identity crisis, but kind of a real, thought of, I couldn't save one of the people who meant the most to me. Why am I even doing this? And I would use Spider-Man 4 to really grapple with what is it like to lose your best friend, one of the people that means the most to you out of anyone, and to have their death be essentially your fault, right? They died sacrificing themselves for you. And then, as it pertains to Mary Jane, I would have her as someone who is definitely not in a relationship with Peter, at least again in this installment, because of all the crap they went through in the third movie. But just kind of showing them being friendly towards each other, supportive. And, I certainly would not have her get kidnapped by the villain again, because that's been done to death. But, you would kind of see a lot of that damage from the third film has not been resolved. And it would just be a slow burn. Not necessarily a whole trilogy, but you would at least get an installment where they're just becoming friendly to each other again. Maybe they get back together at the end of the movie, maybe they don't, but you would see, I think, a side to their relationship that you never truly got to see in the Raimi trilogy, right? Because in the first one, she doesn't know that he's Spider-Man. The second one, she's getting upset about him not going to see her play. In the third one, he's all up in his ego and not able to be there for her. So you would get, I would say, what are the friendliest versions of their interactions up to this point, just so the audience can be reminded of, like, why do they even like each other in the first place. But also, I mentioned in my separate video about Gwen Stacy that I always felt the Raimi Gwen was just brewing with a lot of potential. Just from her, like, short scenes in the third movie, I thought there were a lot of things they could have done with her. And I would sort of have her as this kind of intermediary figure between Peter and Mary Jane, where she's kind of friendly towards both of them. Will relay something about the other one, usually a lie, to get them to think they're kind of, both saying nice things about each other behind their back. But again, she's like mostly working to try and get them to be back to what they were previously, because she does genuinely want what's best for Peter and has become friends with both of them in the time period between when the third and fourth film occurred. And then we can get the elephant out of the room. Black Cat is so frustrating in terms of, like, the fact that we have had or excuse me, we're going to have had 9 live-action Spider-Man films and not had her, like, a costumed version of her in a single one. I know that supposedly they have Felicia and Tasm too, but that's whatever. That's a non-character as far as I'm concerned. Because I feel like it's really sad that the character who, besides Venom, I would say is the most valuable contribution to the Spider-Man mythos after the 1960s, 70s, gets shafted completely in these different live-action versions. And in having her be the Vulture's daughter, I think you give her a chance to be a little bit more nuanced than just, the cat burglar who likes stealing things. Because, there is this whole idea of a victimless crime. I'm just taking something from somebody. It's a rich person. Who cares? But when she sees her father, right, killing innocent people, that's where she draws the line and teams up with Spider-Man. I would try to, the difference between this and Spider-Man 3 with the whole 3-villain thing is that Vulture is the main villain of this. The Black Cat stuff is usually there to service both her own arc, her dad's arc, to an extent Spider-Man's arc as well. So it's not, the focus is not going and being distorted with all these different subplots. This possible version of Spider-Man 4 has one story, which is Peter Parker trying to move on from the death of his best friend, weighing if he even still wants to be a superhero while having to fight a supervillain who wants to become younger again and has no problem annihilating people to achieve that goal. So yeah, those are my ideas for the Spider-Man 4 novel. And if anyone wants me to do this, let me know. I mean, I don't want to start on it and then, just waste my time making something nobody wants to watch. So that's why I'm posing the question.